talking about it when it was like the second reading, and they tabled it. So now it's back. It's just a consent agenda. So not a second public hearing.
Just once it's in, it's in, right?
Well, it's a consent agenda. So I'm like, there's no other public hearing on it other than what people want to get up and talk about.
Is there going to be any public hearing, speaking or anything at all today?
At the first public hearing,
Yeah,
you
like
can
nothing.
talk about anything that's on here.
All meeting to order, all rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the meetings of the Township Council established and adopted by the Township Council. We designated the time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. It is an electronic amplifying recording device. In order to obtain an audible and clear record, we request all those wishing to speak be recognized, state your name and address into the microphone. The recording device will be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office and shall be the official record of Township Council meetings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Mr. Hutchinson is on vacation.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Present.
Mrs. Gintek? Here. Mrs. Trotto? Here. Mr. Mercado?
Present.
Mr. Bianchini?
Present.
Mayor Mayer? Mr. Mata?
Present.
Mr. Lechner? Chief Earl?
Present.
Mr. Carlemere?
Present.
Mr. Cardis?
Here. We have a presentation from the VFW, Commander Phil Williams. Commander?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so very much for being here tonight, and to Mr. Bianchini and to Mr. Mercado and to the council, to the chief. Thank you all so very much. The Deputy Mayor, I know he's not here tonight, but I want to thank everyone for allowing the VFW to come before them tonight and to do a terrific presentation tonight. The presentation we're going to be doing tonight is for the VFW is a very rare award, and here's why it's pretty rare. Now, this is a very unique family that we're going to be talking about and presenting an award to, because this is a family that has two young ladies, one that has received a gold award, and one is tonight we're going to be presenting a gold award. And this is the Girl Scout Gold Award, which is one of the highest awards that Girl Scouts can receive, and it's in comparison with the Eagle Scout Award as well. And I just want you all to know that the new National Commander-in-Chief for the VFW, who is being sworn in today by the President in Nevada, he has never done one. And we was looking to do this in June because he wanted to participate. He was going to fly in and wanted to participate because he has never done one. And I just want you to know how rare when it comes to gold awards really is. So, the young lady who is going to present tonight is Miss Jennifer O'Neill. So if you can come forward, please. Mrs. Jennifer O'Neill is a graduate of Timber Creek High School, and she had a very unique project as well. And we commend the project because one of these projects as young people that you would like to have not only in Gloucester Township, but you need this project in your schools as well. She did a project that involving young people, getting them up, moving, eating right, and living right. So I know that she is more than prepared to talk about her project tonight, but I want her in her own words to tell you about her project, because it's one of these projects because, I have an 11-year-old who, I try to kick him out of the house before I leave in the morning, but, that usually don't work always. So I want him to get up and get moving as well. So Jennifer, if you can tell us about your project.
Okay, well, it all started my 8th grade year with me watching Super Size Me, and it really took effect to me. From there, I went to my Camden County 4-H, and I became the ambassador for food and fitness. But that wasn't good enough. I wanted to grow more into my knowledge of food and fitness. So I decided to do my Gold Award on food and fitness. I created a program that it mixes fun games for the younger kids, but it's also very versatile. It can go up to high school. The games can be changed, and it teaches you about how you can be fit, but it doesn't take too much time. You don't have to spend 3 hours at the gym. You can spend 45 minutes a day, and it's sufficient. And it also taught about how to eat right, healthy portions. Portion distortion was a huge one, and a big one was soda and sugar, and the difference that just switching out your soda for water makes such a big difference. And I went through this program. I created the program and went around to different schools and camps, and I presented the program. I would come back. I would teach the kids how to eat right, how to make something that they could cook themselves, and they could totally do this by themselves at home.
I'm very proud to present from the Department of New Jersey, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, a certificate of recognition awarded to Jennifer O'Neill from the Aerial VFW Post 5794 for outstanding achievement and exceptional leadership ability evidenced by her attainment. And I join everyone here on this 23rd day of July presenting this award to Jennifer. Congratulations.
And that terrific voice was by Miss Judy Washington.
Jennifer, from the VFW Post 5794, the monetary award for our appreciation that as a resident of Aerial, to know that we have people down in the lower end of the township that are excelling, and I want you to know that Jennifer and her family helped out a lot. That the next door neighbor, who was one of our comrades that was here last year, Rich Donnelly, great veteran, and has passed on. And we thank you for all the kindness that you showed to our comrade. Thank you.
Dear Jennifer, I know. I'm Gunther. I'm a happy neighbor of you guys. And as pastor of Crescent Bible Church and also as part of the VFW of Aerial, I want to present to you part of God's creation that you take care of. Humans as well as creatures as well as the beauty of the land to you. God bless you and thank you for your
And Jennifer, we have one more from the mayor and council, and it's a certificate of achievement. Gloucester Township honors Jennifer O'Neill on being the recipient of the Girl Scout Gold Medal Award, July 23rd, 2012, signed by the mayor and myself. Congratulations.
Thank you for all of this. Thank you for letting me have this attention and bringing awareness to food and fitness and the obesity problem.
Once again, thank you all so very much.
I want to thank the VFW. They always recognize many of our residents and citizens. Thank you very much. We will take a 5-minute break. Thank you.
I don't have one of those, electronic that I just leave out. But I don't understand it. It's a shame. I could recycle one. Right. So I had that all the time. So somebody, I just think I needed something. They lost somebody else's file cabinet. File cabinet? That's what I said to her. I said, Suzanne, I get where files were. And she says, no, I took them all out.
No, it's in somebody's house.
I said, this is unbelievable how all this stuff can disappear. And then they put our administrator, they broke her desk, they broke my house, besides Henry's. Because I was too excited to go that one. He says, well, you know that bookcase that was outside of your office? He says, December, I says, I'm going to use it. And I said, yeah, and he goes, all right, it's yours. I'm waiting for it. I said, where the hell is it? And he said, they broke it. What? I said, no, I told him. He said, what'd they do? Used to work at the airport or the Manglers, the baggage man.
She moved out of the room. They lost stuff. And she moved to another school. And then in the summer, they were supposed to take stuff down. They got that off the street. It comes with
we're lucky every desk was. Because I told him I didn't want the desk to show in my office. I swapped it out for another desk because my desk never had the keys were always lost to. And and one drawer, it was something related to one other level or something, so one drawer was constantly open. And then that's where I went, my first year. And I was like, fluffy, almost
Call the meeting to order. Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt? Yes. Mr. Seiler? Here. Mrs. Gintek? Here. Mrs. Strato? Here. Mr. Mercado?
Present.
Mr. Bianchini?
Present. Proposal, please.
Juana's ball field and change in scope drainage improvements at washed out portion of the bike path.
Motion to accept the proposal. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Gintek? Yes. Mrs. Strato? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I can request, we're looking for some action on the proposal for the drainage improvements to be authorized for that. We're preparing an application for a flood hazard area permit so we can make the repairs to the bike paths that are needed. So we need to have the extra costs approved so we can head with those applications to the DEP.
Yeah, same with the Kiwanis proposal, I think the straw proposal.
They can approve the acceptance, yes.
Okay. So we need a straw vote to give administration the authority to get a job order number from each of the engineers. Can we do these together, Dave?
Yes, you can do them together, because what you're doing is just getting the job order number, the standard letter from your already appointed professional to all text.
So is council understanding of what we're voting on? Okay, so we are taking a straw vote to approve Pettit Associates' proposal for the Juana's Ball Field project, as well as the drainage improvements at washed out portions of the bike path by Remington and Burn. Can you have a straw vote, please?
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Gintek? Yes. Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Does that take care of the
Yes.
ability to do that? Thank you. We have the clerk, when I came in today, has a note that Councilman Hutchinson has asked her to read into the record and for council to eventually consider. So, Ro, can you read that, please?
My fellow members of council, I have asked that the Township Clerk Rosemary Josie read this brief message on my behalf. Having given a significant amount of thought to Ordinance 01217 on transparency that I proposed at our last meeting, I am hereby requesting that council table this ordinance to allow me more time to investigate ways of improving the ordinance. I have reached out to numerous individuals in an attempt to provide the citizens of Gloucester Township with an ordinance that will provide the most transparency possible.
So for council, Mr. Hudson, when we get to that ordinance, has asked us to table that ordinance via this letter, and we can discuss it at that moment. Public portion, we'll have the first public portion. Anyone wishing to speak on agenda items only, please raise your hand and come to the microphone. Mr. Reed?
Joe Reed, Millbridge Homes. Mr. President, I'd like to read an editorial that was recently in the Courier Post that also addresses 1217. It's titled, Make Pay-to-Play Ban Meaningful. In politics, a time-tested strategy for defeating opponents who have righteousness on their side with an issue is simply to co-opt euphemistic language that resonates with the public and slap it onto a bad bill or initiative that goes in the wrong direction. The Bush administration's Clear Skies program on air pollution that just allowed more toxins into our air is a good example. In New Jersey, we have an equally hypocritical term when it comes to dealing with the insidious practice of pay-to-play. It's called the fair and open process for awarding contracts. As long as a government unit, township, school district, county, etc., has a fair and open process for announcing that work is available, there need not be tight limits on how much private firms bidding on that work can donate to the campaigns of the elected officials who award the contract. A hypothetical example. Hey, we advertised that we are looking for a municipal attorney. The ad was buried on Township website for 3 days. Sure, we awarded the job to the lawyer whose firm and family just happened to donate $5,000 to the mayor's election campaign, but it was a fair process. Our minds aren't made up, we swear. The fair and open loophole unfortunately exists in the state's weak pay-to-play ban. And it is in this ordinance Gloucester Township's council members introduced July 9th and could approve at their next meeting Monday night, tonight. It's a farce to pay-to-play ordinance that should be scrapped, not approved, particularly since it includes another blatant loophole that will allow vendors in Gloucester Township to donate without strict limits or county political parties. The cash could then be easily moved to local candidates. It's been clear for some time that the all-Democratic Gloucester Township Council has little appetite for the kind of meaningful pay-to-play reform first pushed by the nonpartisan Citizens Campaign, which advocates for clean and open government in New Jersey. That organization's strong model pay-to-play ordinance has been adopted by more than 80 local governments in New Jersey, including a few in South Jersey, such as Collingswood and Cherry Hill among them, where residents fought for passage against entrenched officials who didn't want their fundraising gravy train derailed. Gloucester Township is currently battling in the court against a group of residents who have tried to get a strong pay-to-play ordinance on the November ballot for a township-wide referendum. Such a referendum shouldn't even be necessary. The members of the Gloucester Township Council, if they care at all about good and honest government, ought to do just as other towns have and adopt a robust pay-to-play ban, not embarrass themselves by passing a clearly fraudulent one. Thank you.
How's everyone doing? My name is Fernando Powers. I'm from Blackwood, and my question here is on this R127172 resolution of the Township Council of Township of Gloucester acknowledging the sustainable Gloucester Township vision and action plan. Does that have anything to do with those trucks? I don't know, maybe you can explain to me. Do we have trucks that are going around picking up metal and scrap throughout the township?
No, the action plan simply is our, the Green Team and the Environmental Committee, we had a meeting with the community and we came up with a vision of what we would like to see in Gloucester Township. So it's just our simple vision. The action plan is things that we have already in town that we feel that we would like to improve. So it's basically a plan where some of the residents and the municipality and then our committees, the environmental committee and the green team kind of sat together and said, what are we doing now and how can we improve it? So that's simply what it is.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious if picking up metal, scrap metal and so forth around town has anything to do with sustainable development.
We don't have anything like that now that I know. That wouldn't be an answer that I know. We don't have
The township doesn't have where they recycle the metals that are on the street. Is it unlawful for someone to go on a, say if I saw something on the side of the road and I figured, hey, that's some metal, I'd like to pick that up and.
Yeah, so that has nothing to do with single Gloucester.
Okay, because I just wanted to know if there's a law for that, that's all.
You can't scavenge in picking out of trash certain metals that we are recycling, cans and things like that. But
when you say we are recycling, are you talking about the township?
the township recycles all aluminum and bottles, and cans and papers and cardboard, and there is a what they call a scavenger law, correct, Dave?
So I might understand that you basically pass this law to knock out the competition, private sector?
No.
Okay, so if somebody decides to pick something up can they be ticketed?
You can't go, a resident or somebody that is not the township approved vendor. Now, we utilize our MUA to do the recycling for us. They pick up all those items, but you can't just come with your pickup and stop and get the can and start dumping it into your trash can. Or
What if I, say, for example, went to the homeowner and they said, yeah, go ahead, take it. Is that legal?
I do not believe it is.
Once it's put out in the recycled container.
Well, no, I'm not talking about with recycling container. I'm talking anything that's not to do with that yellow bucket. Anything other than that.
That's between you and the homeowner. If they say, hey, can you take this away for me, and you pick it up and take it away, I'm assuming that's what it's between you two.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
Here, I'm going to give you a United States Supreme Court case that clearly says that government can't pass any ordinances what you just stated is law. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the Supreme Court case with you. It essentially says man's not subject to statute, codes, or ordinances. It defines and limits the power of government, not on man. As man's created government can't be subject to his own creation. Therefore, government can't turn a right to a privilege and then charge you for it. That being said, this case nullifies that law. If I see there's a need for me to come into court, not unless you guys put it before the hearing like you do with everything else, to nullify it, I will be forced to bring this issue into the courts. And I will name every person in here as a defendant and as a matter of law. So I have the Supreme Court case. I'd like to leave it here with you.
Can you leave it with the clerk, please?
Oh, can I?
Bring it over to the clerk, yeah. And she'll hand it to our solicitor after. Thank you.
Yeah, and just so you know, for the record, the reason what brought this to my attention was that my granddaughter was waiting for some pizza one night, and her father was at the pizza store, and he was approached by an officer about whether he had scrap metal in the back of his truck. And he said, yeah, but I got it from some homeowners that allowed me to pick it up, because that's the little side business, to supplement for, the way the economy is going. So he was given up to about $800 worth of tickets and fines. And he just picked up some pizza, and he was approached, and he was given all these fines, and he was found guilty. When I heard about that, and most people here know that I'm a constitutionalist, I will fight to regain those rights and liberties for the people back. And I will ask also to have those funds returned to the people if need be, with interest, because it's a matter of law, true law, facts, and not of out of control governance. So it's restoring the power back to the people. That's it. All right, thanks.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Renee Kubiatas from the aforementioned Citizens Campaign in the op-ed, and we are indeed a nonpartisan nonprofit. 83 Creekwood Drive, Bordentown.
Can you spell your last name?
Oh, sure. K-O-U, B as in boy, I-A, D as in David, I-S as in Sam.
Thank you.
And so we are a nonpartisan nonprofit statewide, and we are looked at as experts in the arena of pay-to-play reform or public contracting reform. And so just wanted to say thank you to this governing body for tabling the ordinance and taking the time to really consider the ordinance that you may ultimately adopt. We did contact Councilman Gentek and Mayor last week expressing concerns about two loopholes that we believe are in the ordinance currently that has been tabled, including section 3B, where the county political parties have been omitted. And certainly in that case, money could be sent to the county Republican or Democratic Party and then wheeled on to the local candidates for office. And then also section 8A, where contracts are exempted from this ordinance if they are awarded to the fair and open process, which is the current state law, and that really is not pay-to-play reform, the current state law. So again, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. If you would wish, we would happily lend our services to work with you on the ordinance. Thank you.
We'll make that known to Mr. Hutchinson. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Kelly Matthews, Fresno Drive. I noticed on the consent agenda that we're amending, it looks like, or changing the township code on responsible pet ownership. And I just got a chance to go through and review it. And I did notice that we have not changed our stance on spay and neutering in the township. And I have previously suggested it to council, to the mayor. And I was just curious why we hadn't changed it.
That was something for our sustainable Gloucester Township, us adopting that rule. So what we did is follow the state rules that they have. So
it's not a rule that you have to follow. We spend a lot of money on it. We spend a lot of money picking up stray animals and then taking them over to Camden County Animal Shelter. So it was a suggestion to include it in our ordinances if at any time we ever updated them or changed them. I had sent it in. So when I saw it on here, I was kind of...
When did you send that in, Kelly?
Months ago. Months ago I sent it in. So maybe if we...
So tell me what
if we're going to change it, what we should do is require residents to spay and neuter and not actively go to each door and say, you're not spay and neutered. But if we find residents who aren't spay and neutered, at that time, we can address the issue. It's on the books in many towns. It's on the books in Winslow. It's on the books in Camden City. It's a cost-saving measure. I can resend the code out again.
I would ask that you maybe send it to our solicitor, because I'm not sure the ability to force them to do it, but...
You don't actively force, you put it on your ordinances. If you look at Winslow Township's code, they have it on the books. If you look at Camden City's code, they have it on the books. Our animal control officer can share that code with you.
Send that, please.
I will. I'll send it to you.
Parliament.
Absolutely.
And then he'll advise us at our next workshop.
No problem.
For tonight, we still pass this and then amend it later.
Right, this is tied into sustainable.
This has to be done for the sustainable. So.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to stop that for you. It's just...
But no, I would be interested in looking into what you said, but if we can pass this. And then
Sure, move forward with this, but it's just, overall, it's a cost-saving measure for the township. It stops animals from being picked up, and then we have to pay animal control, we have to pay the shelter. It puts, because when I went over and read on the wall, we're citing how much we're paying, so it makes more sense to stop that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes, Joanne.
Joanne Carr, 50 Clement Drive. I have a couple things. One is Resolution 12-06-148 concerning GEMS. I went to the planning board when they were discussing this, and I asked about, when we discussed this 5 or 6 years ago, it was tabled because of swamp pink. And Mr. Cantwell said he didn't recollect that. Still don't recollect. Okay. I do have a copy of a newspaper article from June 1st, 2008, which is 4 years ago. And it just says, let me find the one. It's a federal crime to harm, remove, or damage the plant. So instead of potentially harming the flower's habitat or tampering with the cap atop the landfill, Council President Glenn Bianchini said the subcommittee dedicated to studying all aspects of solar proposals is exploring a Summerdale Road landfill. And we've moved forward with that one. But I'm just wondering, has the prolific swamp pink of GEMS disappeared? Because according to this article, it was quite healthy. And
I think if there's any swamp pink around there, it's down at the bottom where the stream that goes through the thing, which is at the
Well, that's where it was the first time, but then things got chippy.
If there is any, I don't know where they are, but they're not up, as far as I know, we have not found any swamp pink at the top of the landfill.
Right, because it would be a swamp.
I'm not proper for it. Obviously, if the project moves forward and we're still in the planning stages and getting people on board to discuss this, we would have to be cognizant of where the swamp pink is and where the issues are. They are mapped by DEP, so we'll pull those to make sure we're not interfering with those. If they are, but I don't have any specific recollection that we had any mapping, definite proof that, I suspect it might be swamp pink somewhere around, but I don't remember any definite proof where they are down at the bottom where the stream is.
All right, thank you. The second one I wanted to ask about was 173, and it was about the sustainable vision and action plan.
170.
Is that 72?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Can't see even with places. Can we find out exactly, how related are we with our plan to the New Jersey plan of sustainable New Jersey?
We pretty much follow sustainable New Jersey. We follow, they have rules that you have to follow. You have to, so for us to get our.
We have different levels.
We have different levels, so we're bronze now. And hopefully by August 8th, we'll have everything submitted for our silver.
What is the ultimate goal?
Your ultimate goal is to keep Gloucester Township be known as a sustainable community, be known as a green community.
Back in the winter time, there was a young fellow that came up, Joe Pauling, and he had given you all articles on Agenda 21 concerning sustainability. Had you read them yet, those articles that he gave you?
I reviewed it, Joanne, but I did not read it word for word.
Okay. All right. I have just a quick letter to the editor just last week. I won't read the whole thing, but it's about sustainability. And I think this points out what the young man was trying to depict. And if it is, I think we have to think about it. According to Agenda 21, sustainable development is development that delivers basic environmental, social, and economic services to all, without threatening the viability of the ecological and community systems upon which these services depend. Sounds good, right? Who isn't for clean water and air and good soil and ample energy? In 1993, Daniel Sivaris wrote a book titled Agenda 21, which said, effective execution of Agenda 21 will require a profound reorientation of all human society, unlike anything the world has ever experienced. A major shift in the priorities of both governments and the individuals, and an unprecedented redeployment of human and financial resources. Gary Lawrence, in his book, The Future of Agenda 21 in the New Millennium, indicated that participating in a UN advocated program would cause fear of one world government and Americans losing individual freedom. So he said the UN should call the program Comprehensive Planning, Growth Management, or Smart Growth. Chapter 38 of Agenda 21 explains in detail how the UN wants to control the globe and enforce one world government, research, and beware. It sounds really far out there, but I have seen different things from California where people are losing the rights to their properties, and I just wanted to know how closely we are in what we are calling, quote, sustainable.
We are not looking to take over anybody's children, anybody's houses, or anybody's land. What I'm simply looking to do is we made a community garden, because what that did is that fosters friendship growth, right, and friendships in the community. So, and I went there today. It's just a beautiful feeling for people. There were farmers there who were planting and showing me what they were so excited about what they did, and going home to cook her mozzarella and her tomatoes. So, and then we're going to be doing a rain garden. We're going to be doing a small educational rain garden just to show people how they can make rain gardens and possibly have one at their house. We do trail walks. We do things for the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, like having a flag football game. And we are, in fact, I told the girl that was up here and said, oh, it would be fantastic if, I think her name was Jen, it would be fantastic if we had a little community group with kids come and she could talk about nutrition. We're talking about, we call it through the Mayor's Wellness, it's seniors in motion, youth in motion, adults in motion. It's telling people to get up and let's work out and let's be healthy. We're doing things like our clean inventory, which we are going to watch odometers and watch how much gas they're using. And if we find a car maybe isn't performing that well, we'll kind of be able to judge that. We're doing things like we're looking to do, we would love to do an arts district. We'd love to do something with that. We would love to put in an amphitheater. These are just dreams that we'd like to do. But we are not looking to do anything.
I can believe that, and I appreciate and enjoy everything, and I'm right with you on everything you're doing. But when you're saying the word sustainable and sustainable New Jersey, how far removed is it from when you get to that ultimate goal? How far are we away from whatever the Agenda 21 goal is? And I want you to be aware of that.
The great thing about sustainable New Jersey, which I have talked at really at good length with the gentleman, is that with sustainable New Jersey, you pick and choose what you want to do.
Okay.
And you can go on, everybody can go on to the Sustainable Jersey, and you can look at the actions, and you'll see there's not one action that, everything's municipally, there's not one action there that I can see in any way would harm.
Did you in fact read about the Agenda 21 that he gave you?
Yes, I looked it over, yes, I did. And I've also been accused by them of certain things. So let's just say that I'm not looking, we are doing this is a good thing.
I appreciate everything you're doing.
And the word
I'm right beside you. I'm at the garden, I'm right beside you on a lot of things.
Remember, the word sustainable isn't just for...
Well, I would appreciate if you would actually read what he gave you.
I read it.
Okay, you got it.
I agree with it.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron Gladden, 44 Greensway. Just to elaborate what we're just talking about. Since I grew up, I noticed during the time, instead of the action plans of being like, oh, we're going to cut taxes and we're going to do this and we're all going to do that, we're not self-efficient no more. When I grew up, every town almost had their own sewer department. Every town did their own sewer cleaning. You know what I mean? It did pollute a little bit of waste, but it also took the beneficiary of losing things. Like now, our golf courses, for green energy, we could use the gray water to fertilize the grass at the golf courses, the 2 golf courses in town, for giving up that. Everything's going to this one big pit, like CCUMUA. We pay that bill, we pay MUA bill. You know what I mean? Back in the day, we didn't. You know what I mean? We only had the one sewer bill in Gloucester Township. It seems like we're going to a county-wide thing or a state thing. Like CCUMUA took over all the sewer departments around here. Now all the sewer water goes there. We pay them a bill, but we also have to take care of our pipelines. And it seems like we're having a ton of problem with drainage all over the town. You know what I mean? Now, does CCUMUA pay the bill, or do taxpayers pay the bill on that? Because they're supposed to maintain that. You get what I'm trying to say to you right now?
First of all, the reason the MUA, the CCMUA, which was a state mandate, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, was because all the towns did it their own, and they were polluting all the water bodies.
Okay.
The Hooper River itself was so polluted, they couldn't even do anything in that river. And as a result of the MUA, the CCMUA, and that mandate, whether you like CCMUA or not, that's your opinion, but that mandate cleaned up a lot of the waterways that we had polluted at this point. So that is a good thing that we had to have. People were taking the sewage, the water that wasn't clean, and dumping it into, like Collins Redwood the creek, which was a polluted cesspool.
Oh, yeah, a lot of places are polluted in New Jersey. We are in a landfill in New Jersey.
Your example is entirely
I mean, well, let me give you a couple examples on certain things to take it self-efficient. Now all of a sudden, the countywide policing is coming out, countywide fire, countywide ambulance. Everything seems like it's going to a county, and you're losing your towns.
And that's because people want shared services. I don't believe in the countywide police, and you won't see that here in
You're
Gloucester
talking
County.
to people right now. I don't want the sales services because it's a joke with the sales services, because guess what? Our taxes are going up. Because my taxes, I just got my tax bill, went up another $200, and everybody's going, well, it's the county, it's the school. Listen, my taxes are going up. My services are going down. If you do the math, it doesn't add up. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
John Schmidt, Gloucester City, New Jersey. Listen to a question that Joanne Carr had, or a topic she had brought up regarding GEMS landfill. And GEMS is actually the reason that brought me here really to the meetings in Gloucester Township as I was doing research. She read that article from 2008. What's different now than then?
Well, I think one of the things is we want to visit that area and see what we can do. In 2008, it was presented to us, and anybody on council was there at the time to talk also, in which we had a person coming up from Washington and said, I'll give you X millions of dollars, or I'll give you whatever, and I'll invest $40 million of my own money to develop that landfill into a solar farm, if you will. And we at the table for the township said, hold on, why would you do it, not charge us? And we wanted more information. One, we also had the GEMS folks saying, before you touch that landfill, you better make sure whatever you put on it is approved and all those things with the DEA, the EPA, and all those different agencies that were monitoring that cleanup, and still are monitoring that cleanup. So there was discussion, if I recall, of swamp paint that could be down there or could be a problem, but there was nothing that we felt confident in at that time to say, you know what, let's hang our hat on it. Now we're going back. We think we have other ways of doing it, and that's what we're doing. We're taking another look at it and saying, can we get energy out of it? Can we reduce costs for any governmental facility, whether it's the college, wherever, and is it the right thing to do?
How much, we said one thing interesting, reduce energy for the college. That's the county. If this is eventually going to be owned by the municipality, why would it benefit the county?
Well, back then,
Why
you
would
had
it benefit the municipality?
Back then, you had to identify a user, like over at Owens Corning, we looked at the school that was close by. I'm not even sure that's the way it's handled at this point, but again, that's what we're trying to see. What is it that we can do with that land that's doing nothing, and trying to make it work for Gloucester Township?
And how much research went in 4 years ago that made you say, you know what, solar's not a good idea? 4 years later, solar's a good idea. What is different about this proposed solar farm?
We didn't say solar wasn't a good idea. We said we weren't sure. That person wanted the land for a rental of, I can't remember the numbers, but they were going to keep all the money that they were making and selling the energy back. My thing at that time was, why can't we try to do that? It is an expense. People at that time were leery of putting up that type of money from the government. All good things, all good discussion. But at that time, having someone come into your community wanting to spend a ton of money makes me take a step back and say, then why would they want to do that?
Real quickly, final question. Back in 2008, were there any engineer studies done as part of that, looking at that process?
I don't remember. Do you remember? Was there engineering studies? I don't remember if there was. We had companies coming in giving us information. But again, I don't know. I don't remember.
Don, do you recall?
I don't recall doing any studies back in 2008. I know we looked at subsequent to that, on the publication that we're slowly gotten us into this issue where we have to make some modifications to land use that's allowed there. But those studies that I'm aware of, I know our oldest did not do anything prior to 2008.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think just for the purpose of the public, what was important to also comment on that proposal that came into council back in 2008 was basically at a work agenda meeting. The individual, to my recollection, that came in and was requesting the contract, demanded an exclusive contract to be signed and moved on at that meeting without council going through the state-required procurement process. And that was another reason why the individual could not meet the standards. He didn't want a procurement process to be followed. He wanted an exclusive contract to be signed, and then he was going to explore his own remedies on the GEMS land.
Call the generator.
Paul DiBartolo, Ohio Avenue, Blackwood. Reflecting back on what Joanne said, I would just like to call council's attention. I kind of got the feeling that she was, maybe it was thought she was kind of a little over the top. And I'd like to point out that probably 10 years ago, no one thought that we'd be checking infant and adult diapers at the airport, making women drink their breast milk, fooling around with people's colostomy bags and feeding tubes, okay? I don't know if you're aware that there are some, okay, we want to practice green technology, and I think everybody would probably admit that collecting rainwater is one way to save water. In some communities in the United States, it's illegal to collect rainwater. So to me, that would be a concern. I've never read Agenda 21. I don't know what it is. I do know about government overreach. And today, what seems like science fiction, like I said, in some communities, you are not allowed to collect the water falling out of the sky to use it to water your own land.
We encourage that through sustainable Gloucester.
Okay.
In fact, we'll be seeing a rain garden that is going to be, which will teach you how to do this.
Okay. I guess I don't understand then how that's sustainable, but yet we have other communities who think that's not our water to use. You know, what's falling on my land is not mine. It's just a warning shot to be aware that
Sustainable New Jersey doesn't control us.
okay, I'm not completely aware of. I'm just overhearing the conversation.
Yeah, they don't. It's just like something that we make up. Sustainable Gloucester Township,
Okay.
the Green Team, the Environmental Committee.
That's what it is today. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, in the back. In the back, sir. Sir, not yet. Gentleman in the back.
Joe Pauly, Ariel, New Jersey. Ms. Gentek, I like the smile you have on you. You seem very enthusiastic.
Thank you. I love talking about the Sustainable Gloucester Township.
I just think you like talking to me, but my question was, you were talking about something with the sustainable development regarding the, what were you saying about the cars? Checking something on cars?
It's called a fleet odom. It's a fleet inventory. We just we're starting to keep track of all our police cars and all our public works cars.
As a way to make sure that we're not overutilizing gas and making them not efficient.
Okay, you weren't clarifying if you're talking about residents' cars or.
We are not looking to control our residents' cars.
My other question was, you were saying with the Sustainable New Jersey that there are some guidelines you don't have to follow. What are some of the things you have not followed via the program? Just give me a couple things.
I don't mean any disrespect to you. If you could go on and see how the program works, you pick and choose what you want to do. So for instance, we choose the community garden, and then they give you guidelines of what you should follow, but pretty much it's saying they're letting each municipality form your own kind of guidelines of your community garden. So it's simple as us saying we wanted to have a community garden, we went to the mayor, the mayor said yes, we picked out a plot and we put a community garden in, and all we had to upload was our narrative that we started a community garden, and to say why we started it, and to say, and to upload our pictures. It's as simple as that. They're not, if you look at it, you will see that it's really not asking anything.
I did look at it. Now my question is, why do we have to go through the Sustainable New Jersey to do these things? Why can't we do things, or is Sustainable New Jersey giving you funds?
Absolutely not.
Then where's the money coming from for this?
I think it's an example, it's guidelines that we wanted to do that in our community, so that was the state, and they had guidelines or examples, if you will. And so as our group, which is made up of citizens, Michelle herself and other folks, the environmental people who care about the environment, they use those guidelines, say, okay, how can we mold it to make it user-friendly, resident-friendly in our township? So they went with the garden and as she says, the rain stuff and all that. So I respect what this 21 book has, and I understand what Mr. DiBartolo is saying and all that, but I appreciate those comments, and obviously we will keep our eyes open to make sure that we're not doing anything that obviously I would never, and I could tell all these folks here would never do anything to overstep our boundaries in this green initiative. I respect it. I'm glad you brought it to our attention. But I can tell you, we're not looking to control anybody. We're not looking to buy or overtake their land. We're not looking to look at their cars.
Well, my question, where are the funds coming for this?
I don't think there's really been much of a cost on any of this,
No, to be
other than
honest
time.
with you, most of the cost has come out of my pocket so
Well-
far. So like for the green fair, we gave out little basil packets to grow your own seeds. So
Well,
I
my
went to
question-
a
my-
business, we went to a business and asked them if they would donate it. So they donated the seeds. So most everything is donations and has been taken on a lot by the green team.
My question is, where do the funds come for, like the new recycling program?
That was,
Isn't that part of the green team? Isn't?
No, that had nothing to do with the green team. That was part of the funds that we get through the county, what they call the tonnage grants. And the more we recycle, the more money we get back for recycling. So that's where all that came from. There was not even part of, I don't believe it was anything to do with the green team right there.
No, we have to remember, this is just a small community group that the municipality does also have, involvement, because we want to start this group, just like we have the environmental committee, the historical society. We just basically we're really much we just started, we're just a small group doing, it's more community activities, I would say. We're a type of we're a green team and environmental committee that just is doing green community activities and events.
I'll just leave it at this. It's obviously not a small community group activity if you're following a program of a statewide thing. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Foley. Anyone else? Mr. Reed.
Mr. President, Joe Reed, Millbridge. Just like to make a comment. I'm enthusiastic and enthused with your enthusiasm and urgency and eagerness to get the green thing going in Gloucester Township. That's great. I sure would like to see, as a retired businessman, the same enthusiasm, same urgency, and same dedication to get businesses back in our township, particularly in Gloucester Town, and Blackwood, Clementon Road. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's going. Brian Powers, Blackwood, New Jersey. All right. Yeah, I'm concerned on the wording that you on the sustainable, Gloucester Township. You said they are allowing us. Yeah. Who's they?
I would ask that the solicitor answer
directly on the resolution?
Is it on the resolution?
Yes. We're talking about
Let me take a peek at it.
Yeah, R1207-172, Sustainable Gloucester Township Vision Action Plan. She stated that they are allowing us to do what we want.
I think that in her context, in this talk, is she's saying that due to the things that the Sustainable New Jersey puts out, they're not dictating to us you have to do certain things. What they're saying is you pick whatever you want to do. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. If you do want to do it, these are things or suggestions. I don't think it's being dictated at all.
So by any chance, are you or is the township receiving so much as a penny for any initiative that you're following?
We have not received not one penny from this initiative.
Is there anything that we're giving up in the township to follow their state plan?
Absolutely.
No. And the council's closer.
Yeah, the specific language that you said, they, is not in this resolution.
Okay, because I mean, she mentioned it and I was concerned. Yeah, and I wanted to know who was they.
But I think that's what her context was. Is we, as Gloucester Township of that group, can then make recommendations and pick out whatever they want to suggest for us to follow.
Right, so why can't we just do something, without having to participate with them?
We're not participating with them. We're doing our own thing.
Right, because I don't know if you read it. I know Joe Pauley's giving you those pamphlets. I have personally given them to most of you.
I read them.
Yeah, and I'm very concerned as to the wording that's in there. Right now, it's a fluff thing. Right now, you said we have a garden. That's great. But there is a law, a federal law, that says that you can't even grow your own garden, and that's S510. And so on one hand, they're saying, yeah, grow your garden, green thing, let's all do it over here together. But is that person that decides to grow their own garden in their backyard, sooner or later, are going to start getting tickets like these guys that are out on the street picking up trash that Supreme Court has also stated that is abandoned?
They don't, Sustainable New Jersey does not, just because we're getting certified through them, they don't own us, they don't control us, they don't tell us anything. It's what we choose. And I love Gloucester Township, and we all do, and there's no way I would ever choose, and I haven't seen anything on there that is controlling. Everything I see is very beneficial to our residents, and that's why I'm excited about it, because everything we're doing is beneficial to our residents.
Okay, well, are you aware that, the individual that's in the White House right now, he signed an executive order enforcing Agenda 21. And it's forced all the states and towns, they have to follow it. It's an executive order. At what level they're going to participate, I don't know. But it will become forceful later on as plans that are being put together by special interests. Just for example, the gentleman spoke about the water that's coming from the sky. And some places, some towns that will not allow you to have that water, you will get fined. Well, that falls under the what they call LOST, Law of the Sea Treaty. They're trying to gain control of our waters, and whatever water drips into the creeks and into the streams that goes into the river, that goes into the ocean, they will have full control. And that's all part of Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. And that's my concern. You might mean well, and I'm sure you're a good person, and I'm sure all you guys mean well, but sometimes we overlook those things, the real important small things that are in the laws or that are hidden for our own self-motivation, so we can be reelected again and so forth. Yeah, you mean to do well, but there's things in there that you really have to look and read, because we're losing our liberties. We're losing our freedom. Just look around. The president doesn't even want to say, I know it's federal, but he doesn't want to say, he doesn't want to get his authority from Congress. He gets it from the UN. Well, soon, they're not going to look at you guys as, well, we get our authority from the township here, the council. We're going to go to the county, and we're losing our sovereignty.
Would you feel better? So would it be okay with you if we still had the green
it doesn't interfere with my liberties. It doesn't interfere with
So are
the
you saying
people's
yes
rights.
to that? That
It-
yes, we can do.
You can do anything you want as long as it doesn't violate a person's individual liberties. But I will not agree to following with any initiative that's coming down from the state, that comes down from the federal government, because the guy that's in office has signed into law, executive order, because he wants to push what the UN's agenda is, which is in the end, they're going to be able to, in the end, they want to dictate your every life. And that, this is facts. This is black and white.
Well, we can take it into consideration. We'll think about whether we can,
How about when you come out to one of our presentations that we give? Well, would you be willing to do that?
Mr. Powers, I think you've gotten the point.
Okay.
Michelle will take a look at it
Okay.
with her team, and then we'll move forward with it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. President, we close the first on the portion. Is that what everyone would like?
I would.
Okay, let's close the public portion. Ordinances with second reading and a public hearing. Ordinance O-12-16. Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Gloucester, appointing the township clerk as the issuing authority for raffle and gaming license. This ordinance will allow the clerk to be able to authorize raffle and gaming licenses. We now have a public hearing on this ordinance. Yes, sir.
Darren Gladden, 44 Greens Way. On this ordinance, does that mean like all youth sports that does any kind of fundraising with any kind of raffling and stuff like that has to come and get permission from the county clerk?
They do now. Usually it comes to us. What we're saying is we don't need to, we authorize the clerk to authorize that, and it does not have to come and wait for our meeting to approve those things.
Okay, so it just goes to the county clerk and it sets
Township
everything?
clerk, correct.
Okay, so say if I have a fundraiser for a fallen soldier or something like that and through the township and I have it at Paris Catering, through that I have to come to the county clerk to get all the okay from it? Yeah, still have to have the state license. All right,
The
thank you.
township clerk will make that decision.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, we'll close the public portion. Motion to adopt. Second. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Zentek? Yes. Mrs. Estrada? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bean?
Yes. Ordinance O-12-17, ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Gloucester, Camden County, New Jersey, to promote transparency and prohibit the award of professional service contracts for certain campaign contributors and directing professional service contracts to be awarded pursuant to a fair and open process, and requiring disclosure of contributions made by professional service contractors of the Township of Gloucester. We now know that we want to table this, so can I go directly to?
You can ask for a motion to table.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion to table this ordinance, please.
Do I have a second? I have a motion to table and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes, table.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Zentek?
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes, to table.
Mr. Bean?
Yes, to table. We have a table resolution.
Resolution of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, approving the Jennings landfill, block 14003, lots 25 and 26, block 19601, lots 3 and 14 through 25, and block 19602, lots 2, 3, and 10, and recommending the Jennings landfill redevelopment plan to the Gloucester Township Planning Board for appropriate review and recommendation.
As the resolution states, this resolution will allow the Gems Landfill redevelopment plan to move to the Gloucester Township Planning Board.
Mr. President, you need a motion to table.
No, No, the solicitor said a motion to approve will untable.
Yeah, there's two procedures you can follow. You can make a motion first to remove it from the table if there's any discussion, or you can just move it. If there's a move and a second, that's taking it off the table. There was not a set time or delay of the motion that was made to table this.
So we have a motion to approve. I'll make that motion.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Styler?
Yes.
Mrs. Stentek?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Yes. We have next the resolution of consent agenda. Any council person wishing to remove any of these resolutions, please let me know now.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
On the question, roll call, please, to approve the resolution of consent agenda.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Styler?
Yes.
Mrs. Stentek?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes. There is no mayor's report, and we do not have GTE Gov access questions. And I will open it up to the second public portion on which to speak. Please raise your hand and come forward. Mr. Harvis?
Amy Tarvis, 928 Cummings Avenue, Blenheim. I have an affidavit here that was submitted by a Joanne Stallworth Holmes, and I understand this affidavit was presented to the prosecutor's office, and I'd like to read some of the contents of this affidavit. She indicates that she submitted the affidavit about a concern over the means and methods utilized to circulate the petition entitled Public Contracting Reform Ordinance. She continues to say that affixed to the petition Public Contracting Reform Ordinance is a provision which contains the affidavit of circulator. This affidavit swears that Thomas W. Crone certifies that he and only he personally circulated the foregoing paper. All the signatures appended thereto were made in his presence, and he believes them to be genuine signatures of the persons whose names they purport to be. The affidavit contains the circulator's actual signature as Thomas W. Crone and was executed by Thomas W. Crone before a notary on February 8, 2012. Ms. Holmes continues to say that there are numerous issues with this petition that are extremely troubling to her. She indicates that first the petition was handed to her by Crystal Evans the summer of 2011, and I believe that's when Crystal Evans was a member of council. Ms. Holmes states that the petition was not a petition named Public Contracting Reform Ordinance, but rather it was presented to her with the heading Petition for Youth Program, along with the language pertaining to the construction of a youth center. She continues that after Crystal Evans handed Ms. Holmes the petition with the goal of helping the youth program, Ms. Holmes circulated the very petition around her neighborhood, collecting the vast majority of the names, addresses, and signatures listed, including several of the children in her neighborhood. Furthermore, she herself signed the petition. She states that without any uncertainty or hesitation that Mr. Crone, the name listed in the affidavit of the circulator, did not circulate the petition and did not witness the majority of the names, residences, and signatures being affixed. Moreover, the 5 names listed on the committee of petitioners appearing at the bottom of the paper were not listed when she signed and circulated the petition. Ms. Holmes states she is not certain as to how those signatures that she collected became part of a petition for Public Contracting Reform Ordinance, but it most certainly was not in that format when she signed the petition and circulated it to others to sign. The petition has been altered in both form and content since it left her possession with the names, residences, and signatures. After obtaining the signatures, she returned the petition to Crystal Evans, and did not hear anything further until it was brought to her attention that her signature was part of a petition entitled Public Contracting Reform Ordinance. Upon reviewing this purported petition of Public Contracting Reform Ordinance, she can say without any uncertainty or hesitation that this was the exact petition for youth program that she had circulated in the summer of 2011. I wanted to ask Mr. Cardamere that I understand this petition was presented to the prosecutor's office for its discrepancies, and what was the findings of the prosecutor's office?
That's correct. When that affidavit came in as part of the review process on petitions that are being submitted into the clerk's office. It was during the, if my memory is correct, during the correction or amendment process. When that affidavit came in and made reference to the particular petition that was part of the packet for the clerk to review, the clerk brought it to my attention, recognized that there were some serious implications in that affidavit, alleged petition switching and false swearing. That particular affidavit found its way to the county prosecutor's office. It's been in the prosecutor's office with several other copies of petitions and documents that the prosecutor's office requested that they maintain control of. I myself, and I don't believe the township has received any response from the county prosecutor's office as to the status of their review.
Would this be falsifying a document by swearing, putting an oath on it, notarizing it, and yet it isn't true and accurate? Is that falsifying or misleading, or?
That was the allegation contained in the affidavit, that the individual that signed under oath with their signature notarized made certain statements that affidavit says were not true. And that's why we felt, or I felt, that it should not be something that continues through the process or in the local government in Gloucester Township, and that's why it found its way to the prosecutor's office. That particular petition that it related to during the process of the appeal process, the initial appeal process in Superior Court in Camden, the committee of petitioners agreed that affidavit and that related petition was suspect. They indicated they had no part of the allegation contained therein, but they felt that it should be removed, and at the Superior Court level, that petition that affidavit referred to was removed for consideration in the total number of petitions that were signed.
So it was removed because of its discrepancies?
They felt that it was suspect and raised too many questions, and that it was an error that it found its way to the clerk's office, and they removed it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Scott Owens, 1 Bellissimo Court, Uriel Section. Thank you, members of council. So I as well actually have an issue with the South Jersey Citizens Ordinance, and I'll just quickly read the ordinance name. It's establishing that a business entity which makes political contributions to municipal candidates and municipal and county political parties in excess of certain thresholds shall be limited to its ability to receive public contracts from Gloucester Township in Camden County. I feel like you need to be an attorney, number one, to even make sense of it. The issue that I have with this is, while everyone here today has been talking about fair and open government accountability, liberties, and whatnot, this ordinance is putting a limit on monetary donations. On Section 1, Part C, the monetary thresholds of this ordinance are a maximum of $300 per calendar year for any purpose to any candidate or candidate committee for mayor or governing body, or $500 per year to any joint committee. So my question or my comment about this, number one, is so if there's a, say, township resident, I want to donate $500 a member of council, to the mayor, to the committee, and I'm an expert in marketing or communications or law or something along the lines, just because I donated $500, yet my name is out there, everyone knows who I am, based on this ordinance, I cannot be appointed or even be hired just because I donated some money, yet everyone knows who I am. So my issue with this ordinance is, why is super PAC money not listed in here as well? I feel the super PAC money, super PAC donations, and for folks that don't know, super political action committees, if I'm correct, and Mr. Carlemere, you can elaborate a bit more later, these folks, these big donors donating millions and millions of dollars, they can come into this township, donate money, yet me as a resident, as a voter, members of council and other township residents, we don't know who these folks are. So they could very well be appointed to different boards out there or hired for contracts, and we don't know who they are. At least if I'm personally donating $500 of $300, which is such a small amount, I cannot do it, yet everyone knows who I am. Recently, I've been doing a lot of research, and I think all of us have been inundated on the web and news about all the papers, television, online articles, and just a few that have been talking about political actions, the super PACs, just article after article after article, yet this potential ordinance has nothing to do with the super PAC. So it really makes me wonder what's behind it, and just in light of the recent article about having other folks sign the affidavit, what is going on behind the scenes that I think we should definitely be know about. I'm asking myself, why isn't it covering the super PACs, which I believe in, and I think folks out there believe is the probably #1 biggest threat to democracy in this country. There are folks that are out there buying elections, federal elections, local elections, state elections, by dumping millions and millions of dollars into our races, when my vote basically is not counting anymore. So once again, why is this ordinance not taking into consideration super PAC money? Mr. Carlemere, I do have a question. So let's say this ordinance does pass. Could a Carl Rovesque super PAC infiltrate our township as the RNC election did, which I have some elect information here that I did a Oprah request on, that 2 years ago the RNC donated thousands of dollars into our elections in this township. Why is the RNC getting into it? So could they say come in, spend 50, 60, 70, hundreds of thousands of dollars into this township, basically controlling these elections and us never knowing who these folks are?
Well,
could you elaborate into the super PAC?
I guess the best way I can respond is the conversation I had with Councilman Hutchison when he asked me to address some of his concerns and try to submit a proposed ordinance that dealt with pay to play. One of the things that Dan Hutchison wanted to ensure is that a proposed ordinance addressed all the areas of transparency, disclosure, super PAC accountability, and those type of things that were in this proposed ordinance that was just tabled. One of the concerns is that unless you're addressing something with super PACs, it's not an easy thing to do. Unless there's some accountability or obligation placed on a vendor to disclose a contribution to a super PAC. In essence, what's happening in the election process throughout the country, and obviously in this township also in other towns, is that contributions are going in the back shadow, in a sense, underground. It's almost like pre-elect days when you didn't know who was making contributions where. So when you have a super PAC coming in and putting a lot of dollars into a political public question or a particular candidate that's running, they do not have to say who is funding them. They fall into that super PAC nonprofit corporation status. They don't have to disclose. But we're not naive, so we know people really know who's the right people, I guess you would say, know who's forming these super PACs and where the money makes sense coming from. But there's not disclosure, there's not transparency So super PACs, the problem with super PACs is that there's no disclosure or transparency, and someone's contributing to a campaign, the candidate's successful, and that person gets a job. You don't know whether or not they've made any contribution at all. And that's one of the things that Councilman Hutchison wanted to try to put into the ordinance. And I guess that's what he's still looking at, is tightening up super PAC accountability.
And also, can say the super PAC monies, these organizations, from what I've read on Citizens United, they're actually not permitted to, I guess, coordinate with the folks that are running. Obviously, there's workarounds that they are. I see it every day on the ads that these presidential campaigns, they're focusing on one thing. Then obviously all the super PACs are focusing on it. So that's obviously something else that can happen with the super PACs. Or am I reading into it wrong?
That's correct. As long as the super PAC is saying that they're not coordinating a campaign effort with a candidate's campaign, they're running their own campaign in a sense on the particular issue or candidate. They can run and not be foul of the law and not disclose who's making their contributions to where their money's coming from.
And thank you. A question for any of the council members. I guess it makes it hard for you guys to potentially run for re-election, or any resident out here that may want to run for election, that you're almost just running against a name, not the actual person and what they believe in. You're almost running against a super PAC, so their name is just out there. So I guess what can we do as residents to try to do this? I know there's a lot of cases and some states are trying to fight it, but ultimately, if I wanted to run, I'm not even running against a person. I'm just running against an organization, a super PAC out there that we don't know who they are. So I don't know if there's a question in there, but any comment would be nice.
I think what the solicitor stated is, and what ultimately Councilman Hutchison wants, is to figure all that out and trying to make that as transparent as possible.
Thank you for your time.
Mr. Schmidt?
John Schmidt, 1 West Thompson Avenue, Gloucester City, New Jersey. Question, maybe you can just put it right now. How many OPA requests have been received by the custodian of records for affidavit, for those 5 affidavits?
I don't know.
Questions?
Did you hear the clerk, John?
Yes, I heard. What positions in the township does Ms. Tarvis hold?
In the township? I don't believe she holds anything. She is a commissioner on the MUA board.
Mr. Piccolo?
Mr. Piccolo?
Kevin Piccolo?
Nothing I know.
John, can I ask you a quick question? Why are you asking questions to answer you already?
Marion.
Is this for theater, correct?
No, because I want to get into a point.
Oh, okay.
That-
All right. Continue the theater.
Marion Coyle?
She's in my office at the legal department, risk management assistant.
And Cindy Carliner?
She's married to me, as you know, we discussed this before, and she's a housing authority commissioner,
Okay, thank you.
non-paid.
I just listened to the affidavit you read, which was in front of a Superior Court judge in Canton. And all the affidavits were thrown out. Assuming this person signed this affidavit for whatever reason for the township, should have been a witness for the township, but didn't show up. Can I ask why the township's own witness didn't show up?
Wasn't our only witness, but she did not show up, correct? She was subpoenaed, notice in lieu of subpoena to her attorney. Some others did not show up also because of lateness of service of the subpoena.
The person in question, Councilwoman Evans, did she show up? Former Councilwoman Evans.
She was there.
Okay. And her testimony, what did she say at the courthouse?
What's your
The
question?
courtroom. Regarding the process of how the petition got to.
She gave it to Stolworth Homes.
And Ms. Stallworth Holmes, how did it get to the citizens?
How did it get to?
How did it get to the petitioners, people collecting the petitions?
Other than the position raised by both sides, we don't know.
Okay. In court, was there any testimony in which any witnesses said that one of them was called by Kevin Piccolo to have him sign to sign the affidavit?
There was a reference to that. Without the transcript, I don't recall that the particular witness made a statement. I believe the testimony was no, that she was not contacted by that individual.
Did another witness state that, quote, either Mary Ann Coyle or Cindy Carlemere called her?
She said that she communicated with Mary Ann Coyle, and she said she communicated with a Cindy, but didn't remember the last name.
Okay. Did you object to any?
I didn't object to that witness.
I find it interesting that a court of law, and I'm one to play by the books, a court of law threw out the affidavits.
Court of law.
Court of law. And I also find it very interesting that people who came out and
You're making
testified.
a misstatement. You're making a misstatement.
Judge dismissed.
One affidavit was withdrawn by the Committee of Petitioners. The other two individuals that appeared to give testimony, the judge didn't throw out their testimony. The judge found that the petition form to be more credible in of itself and ruled on the petition form rather than testimony or affidavits of either side. Maybe you should wait for the transcript and read the transcript.
Mike, I'm real interested in that. It seems like you have a party chairman. You have the secretary of the solicitor, a head of who's involved with the PAC, as we all know. Another person who's involved with the PAC, who's the wife of the solicitor, who is head of a housing authority. A county committee person. And the Democratic Party chairman, who was raised by the FBI, we all know, doing this work. It's very interesting to see the players that are fighting pay-to-play reform. It's very questionable as when you look at this, like, interesting. What is really going on in Gloucester Township? That's all. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I meant to ask this question when I was here previous. Amy Travis, 928 Cummings Avenue. There was an article in the Courier Post on May 18th, and within the article is on the petition under fire in Gloucester Township. And within the article, it is indicated that Crone said his group, and they're obviously referring to Thomas Crone. Crone said his group had no comment because it has not been contacted by the prosecutor's office. Since this article, Mr. Cartemere, was Mr. Crone contacted by the prosecutor's office?
I don't have direct knowledge. I would assume that whatever investigation the prosecutor would do, contact has been made, but I don't know that for sure.
So he was he didn't appear or anything like that, and this affidavit that he's supposed to have circulated, he wasn't questioned at all by the prosecutor's office?
I don't know, and
Don't know?
it was not important for the proceeding.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Gladden?
Darren Gladden, 44 Greens Way. To get back on this PAC thing and the play-to-play issue, I ran an election this year as a conservative independent, and I think the local PACs are more destructive than the actual, the big gigantic PACs, because they're not really paying attention to Gloucester Township. When I ran in this election, I had a Democratic political action committee throw out 2 mailers against the Republican opponents, putting me as I'm the true conservative. Had no clue, no knowledge about it. And then we find out that both, during investigative resource by Patch and all that it was a Democratic political action committee. You know what I mean? So we're sitting here talking about federal political action committee. Let's worry about here, okay? Let's worry about our town, okay? Stop worrying about everybody else and start worrying about our town, okay? Get your head off the county. I know a couple people up here right now have county jobs, are solicitors for fire departments and stuff like that. Let's worry about Gloucester Township first, please. Thank you and have a nice night.
Thank you.
Super tax are not just limited to federal.
Last time I promised. Joe Reed, Millbridge Section, Gloucester Township. Mr. President, I'm a member of South Jersey Citizens. I didn't catch a gentleman's name three speakers ago, but I'm going to give that gentleman my card. It's got my contact information on it, and ask him to join us at one of our educational meetings wherein we can answer any questions that he presented tonight. Thank you.
It's up to you. Yes, ma'am.
Any comment?
My name is Cheryl Pomionic, 4 Bicentennial Court, Ariel. I'm not talking about new packs. I want my retention basin fixed. I've been up here quite a few times. Mr. Josie did call me and tell me it would be started in July. We're at the end of July. I haven't seen nobody out there. It's mosquito ridden. It's a mess. I just want the retention basin. We're going to do the Kiwanis Field. We're going to do all this. I'm a taxpayer. I lived here 35 years. I want my retention basin fixed. Can somebody give me an answer? Mr. Cardis told me, oh, the money was there, and last time he spoke, and...
Mr. Campbell, do you know anything regarding that?
My Centennial Basin, I believe that's one of the projects being handled by Consulting Engineering Services.
What's the name?
Consulting Engineering Services. Last month's report from them, they were authorized to proceed with the work of the township. This is a design work, not the physical construction, and they're doing the design. And back in what they told us the end of June, that they were starting their survey work at the end of June, beginning of July, which they can go to design. So I don't think they're anywhere near ready to go to construction. They're starting the design process now, if I understand CES's report to us.
So the design would redirect or...
What does design mean? What are they going to do?
I'm going to answer that for you. That's why I'm asking.
Well, I don't know what the scope is or what their
But
intent
as an
is.
engineer, John, when they say they're going to redesign or design...
They want to find out what the problems there are there, and try and address the problems by making modifications to the basin so that it behaves.
Is there tests done, John? Is there... I mean, I survey, what does that mean?
Survey, they want to, is a field crew went out there to do an actual physical survey, compare a topographical map of the basin. That's the first step before they can do anything.
It's been 35 years that I lived there. It never drains.
Well,
Never.
That's what they're working on.
Council has recently authorized the CES to start the work, but I don't know the details of where it is.
Now, they will prepare a construction document so that we can then bring in a company that will then repair or replace whatever the basin.
Right, and again, I don't know the details, but once the contract documents are put together, they have to be advertised for bids.
Can you contact those engineers and get a timetable of where they are, where they believe they are, and then report that back to the resident, please?
We have an email out to them to get an update from the truckers.
So if you can get that information, then let's get it to the resident, and therefore she will have a better understanding of what's going on.
I guess if I can do have to go and pass it along.
Where knows my number?
We have, we'll have our engineer call you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Berry.
Good evening, folks. How are you?
Good evening.
I actually had it on my agenda. I was not going to talk about pay-to-play tonight, but I feel that there's some misinformation that's been communicated tonight that I need to correct before I get to what I came here to talk about. First off, I was at that hearing.
Mr. Berry, before you continue, can you make it in concise terms?
Absolutely. In addressing who Mrs. Lash had called her, Mrs. Lash had said a Mary Ann Coyle and then a Cindy and Mr. Carlin at that point jumped up and ran out in front of the table, cutting her off.
Wait a second,
That's why.
sir. You said during the proceeding, I jumped up in the court proceeding?
You stood up. I object quickly. I haven't seen anyone jump up that quickly in a long time.
I'll tell you what, Mr.
So-
Perry, when we get the transcript from the judge that your attorney has not provided us yet, we'll read that transcript. We'll
was-
see what it says.
it was-
I'm going to tell you, you just better be a little bit careful about
Carlmere?
what you state, because it's not true.
The transcript for the record was ordered Monday.
Go on, please. Get to your point of what you want to get.
Oh, I will.
And
So-
this isn't the time to debate what went on in the court.
I'm not going, that's all I have to say about the court. As far as the reporter and the article in the Courier Post, when the first I had heard of Mrs. Stallworth affidavit was when that reporter called me. Until then, and actually until the hearing, no one from the local police, the county police, or Roe or Mr. Carlemere had contacted us about any of these. And since then, no police officer or no investigator has contacted any of us. It's dead. They're not going to do anything with it. Okay? And my concern is, how did a reporter from the Courier Post get a copy of the Stallworth affidavit when I Oprah'd Roe for the fifth one? She denied my request, telling me I had to go to the county prosecutor for it. And no, I don't expect any of you to answer this, but just think about it. Who leaked it? I know it wasn't our police chief. He's a good and honorable man. He and his internal affairs detectives won't do it. The county prosecutors don't care about it. I'm sure they didn't do it. So the question is who? My question also is, how did Mrs. Tarvis get a copy of it? Because if she Oprah'd it, then why was it given to her but denied to me? Again, just think about it. Okay?
I'll answer your question to my knowledge. The 4 affidavits were given to you as part of the clerk's first findings that came in after she made her findings. The Stallworth Homes affidavit came in also after, at the end of the correction period. Madam Clerk, you correct me if I make a mistake.
It came in on the 14th.
At that point, it came in on that 10th day, that Stallworth Homes affidavit. At that point, when it found its way to the county prosecutor's office, the county prosecutor directed the clerk that anybody who wants this, they have to talk to the county prosecutor.
Okay, here's a timeline. That was March 14th that was submitted, right? The reporter called me, or I didn't find out about the Stallworth until 2 months later at the end of May. Or I'm sorry, the Internal Affairs had told me at the end of April. It was April 25th, the day we served you with the lawsuit papers. So you're talking about 6 weeks, and then another month, a reporter had it. That's my concern. I'm not looking for answers, but I'm just going to put it out there. Somebody leaked it.
Okay, I'll make another correction. When you appeared, I was not there. But what I understand, and the clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, that the clerk made known to you of the Stallworth Homes affidavit.
No, she did not. She was not there. I was told that there was one or more. I wasn't told any of the details. The Internal Affairs officer did not know the details of it. He just gave us a heads-up notice. Their investigation was done without contacting any of us.
So when you left the municipal building the day, on the 10th day, a police detective did not speak to you?
No, I was not talked to until April 25th. Period. I just want to correct the record. We are not under investigation, and we never were. Everyone we've spoken to about this, private attorneys, prosecutors in other towns, politicians in other towns, they all said the same thing. This is a political vendetta. It's going nowhere. Don't worry about it. It may get uncomfortable for a while, but you don't need to worry about it. It's over. It's done. Let's move on and do the people's business, please. So, now I'm going to talk about 12-17. My apologies for talking now. I had assumed even if you were going to table it, you would at least allow a public portion that might influence whether you table it or not. And I'm not even going to talk about how it affects pay to play. I'm going to talk about how that ordinance as written, the PAC side of it, and the super PAC. So thank you, sir, for bringing up super PACs because it was a great segue. Point 1 about that ordinance is that you define the term super PAC, or I'm sorry, you list the term super PAC, but you do not give a legal definition of it. In fact, there are other terms in that ordinance that you do refer to in a New Jersey statute. With super PAC, you mentioned essentially campaign fund account known and described as a serial PAC. Well, that is an ambiguous term. And just if you are curious, the state of New Jersey does recognize IRS 527 and 501c organizations in other statutes where it talks about someone who is a member of these cannot become governor for 4 years until after they leave it, nor can they get matching funds. Because of this point, that ordinance will not stand up to a judicial scrutiny. And so I'm glad you are tabling it on that point. Point two, you do not have the authorization to legislate campaign finance laws on the local basis. I told you this a year ago. In fact, I looked up the meeting minutes. It was June 13th, 2011. I am referring to NJSA 2C:1-5. What this essentially says is, notwithstanding any other provision of law, the local governmental units of the state may neither enact nor enforce any ordinance or other local law or regulation conflicting with or preempted by any provision of this code. I will put this in layman's terms. If the state regulates something, the locals cannot without express permission. An example of this is that the state has got emissions requirements. Gloucester Township could not act their own. So to talk about the green initiative, any ordinance to try to regulate local residents' emissions would be thrown out. You just can't do it. The reason that pay-to-play is able to happen is because once Governor McGreevey had installed the state pay-to-play limits back in, I think, '05, there were people concerned that it did not address county and local and schools and fire. So then Governor Cody came in and they created, specifically to enable local pay-to-play, 48:11-51. And this contained 3 sections in it. It allowed local bodies to limit public contracts and enact stricter donation limits. It enumerated that any local pay-to-play ban is not in conflict with the state, and it mandated reporting of these ordinances once enacted to the Secretary of State. It is because of this clear language that pay-to-play does not conflict with the state. In my search of New Jersey statutes, and trust me, I went through them, I could not locate any single enabling ordinance to allow Gloucester Township or any other local unit to enact local ordinance relating to disclosure of super PACs. Even if you define this by the 501c4 or 501c3, and 527 from the federal government. The state has statutes mandating vendor disclosure to PACs, PAC disclosure to campaigns, even barring gubernatorial candidates, as I already spoke about. There is an entire division called ELEC created to handle campaign finance. Because of that alone, you cannot, absolutely cannot create local campaign finance law, including super PACs. Now, there are a couple of direct violations of direct statutes. I won't go in detail, but on 19:25-26.3, this actually lists a bunch of PACs and political organizations that a vendor must disclose if they are given to a local, if they're getting a local contract. It does not include super PACs. It does not include 527s or 501s. By expanding that list of who a local vendor, you are in conflict. And again, there are some others. I won't go into detail. I will work with Mr. Hutchinson. There is no enabling legislation to allow you to expand the list of who you have to disclose to. The 2 components of 40A:11-51 enabling local pay-to-play are contract restrictions and donation limits. This statute, meaning 11-51, does not include language for super PACs or disclosure of vendor donations unless they are in violation of the limits of the ordinance. Therefore, 12-17, whether it's tonight or introduced later, does not fall under 11.51 and is thus preempted by the state. as admirable as your intentions regarding super PACs may be, the entire concept of a municipality enacting campaign finance disclosure is not allowed under New Jersey law, even as good and remarkable as it is. And I support it, by the way. Obviously, you would table this, so I don't need to tell you to vote no. Point 3 about this ordinance. This ordinance is not about transparency. It actually reduces transparency and shuts the door on it permanently. Gloucester Township has been marketing Ordinance 12-17 as transparency, when in fact it has the opposite. If you recall, NJSA 1925-26.3 mandating that local vendors have got to disclose who they give to. Here is who they have to disclose who they give to. Any political party committee, any legislative leadership committee, any continuing political committee, and again, these are as the state defines it, which is not super PACs. Any candidate committee or joint candidates committee for a candidate of or holder of an elective office of the local unit awarding the contract, the county in which that local unit is located, another local unit in that county, and the legislative district in which that unit is in. Meaning, someone who has a contract with Gloucester Township would have to disclose if, say, they gave to the Cherry Hill School Board, or Camden County, or Winslow, right? That's the disclosure, except, guess what? NJSA 25-26.3 also exempts this reporting if the contract is awarded under fair and open. So now you've got this beautiful disclosure that is now slammed shut via fair and open. Section 2 of your Ordinance 12-17 mandates that all contracts be fair and open. As a result of this mandate, you are blocking vendor disclosure about local and regional donations. Where is the transparency in this? For the last 2 years that I've been coming to this council chambers, every time one of you gets in front of a mic or a reporter, everything's transparency. You've been trying to shoot down the pay-to-play law, saying ours is not transparent, and now you've got your ordinance saying it is, except your ordinance is not. Because of your narrow focus on super PACs that have little impact to Gloucester Township politics, you completely overlooked local donations. When you approved the first reading of this ordinance last week, you voted to take away any chance for transparency regarding local donations of our vendors. Actually, I apologize, you kind of gave that back by tabling it. Forcing me to get the same information, to manually sift through 4 reports a year per PAC, per political campaign, per party, in every town, is not transparency. It would take me a month just to figure out, for example, how much Archer and Greener has given to anyone within Camden County. Transparency, if you were truly transparent, if you believed it, you would have tried to have closed the fair and open loophole in 26.3 so anyone can easily see who is giving to whom, without having to sift, to create databases and Excel sheets to mine this data. The way you are selling this ordinance to people does not match the reality of this ordinance. 12-17 will not increase transparency, it will permanently shut the door. To summarize my comments tonight, 12-17 has fatal flaws within it. As written, this ordinance is vague as to whom the disclosure affects. It is not transparent. Continuing to tell the people of this town that it is about transparency would be incorrect and disingenuous because you are mandating the fair and open process that you know is not transparent because it is the loophole not only in this statute but in almost every other statute concerning campaign finance. Even if you corrected the issues raised in points 1 and 3 regarding the definition of a super PAC and then you closed the fair and open loophole, this bill still has got the fatal flaws that you fundamentally cannot legislate campaign finance reform. The only person who is in this room, or who at least was in this room earlier, to enact the types of super PAC reforms proposed in this ordinance is Assemblyman Gabrielle Mosquera. The 7 of you cannot enact or enforce changes to campaign finance for a vote, and I couldn't even force it through the initiative and referendum process because the ordinance would be invalid. With the severability clause, we'd have to edit the ordinance and then go back and get signatures again. You'd have to start over once that issue was raised. If your true aim is to force disclosure of super PAC contributors, then the process is to work through the 4th District legislators and get that passed at the state level. A number of legislators throughout the state have been pushing for this for at least the last 4 years. If what you want is PAC disclosure, then support them and get this passed and trained. I somehow suspect, however, that transparency was not your motivation in introducing this ordinance. If it were, you would attempt to close the loophole in NJSA 25-26.3. The cynic in me sees your use of super PACs as a marketing scheme to cloak the true intentions of this ordinance. Kill meaningful play-to-play reform by confusing the voters who are frustrated by big money in politics. And the $300,000 that you raised in the last election cycle, primarily from donors, is big money. To an independent or to a Republican in this town that don't have the machine behind them, that $300,000 war chest is a super PAC. Think about it. Fortunately, for the people of Gloucester Township, the false veneer of super PAC transparency you wrap this ordinance in is also its fatal flaw. It cannot ever become law in this town. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands, close the public portion. Calling the directors and council, please.
Mr. Malfa?
Nothing to report at this time.
Chief Rose?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Carlemere? Mrs. Cardis? Mr. Schmidt?
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and staying this evening. Thank you very much for all your comments.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes, I'm glad to see that we got one young lady to Jennifer O'Neill to receive the Girl Scout Gold Award. That's the first one we've had in a long time. That's all I have.
Mrs. Genfeld?
I'd like to wish everyone a good night and have a happy week. Thank you.
Mrs. Troutman?
Thank you everyone for coming out and have a good week.
Mr. Mercado?
I'd like to thank the VFW for coming out and supporting our youth. They do that through their pilot grant program and Patriots Pen program as well. And also congratulations to Jennifer O'Neill on her award. Thank you for coming out.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I do want to thank the VFW for their support of many programs, especially with our youth, and congratulations to Jennifer O'Neill. I also ask that each and every one of you remember the victims in Colorado. Please pray for their families, and hopefully those situations are going to be far and few between. They're very, very tragic. Just think about going to the movies and a positive thing and end up having this tragic situation. So keep those folks in your minds and your prayers and your hearts. With that, wish everyone a good night and motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Thank you.
Cheese.